Commander Voran stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the blue planet below. Earth, the humans called it. Earth. He had read their files 100 times. They were nothing special. They fought among themselves. They had no space travel. They had weapons that could barely scratch his ships. The Galactic Council had marked them as Class 7, primitive, non-threat. This would be easy. Begin the descent, Voran said to his crew. We will be done before the next cycle. His second-in-command, Torak, nodded and gave the order. Thousands of ships began moving toward the planet. They had done this many times before. Every species surrendered. Every planet fell. The Keth Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, and none had ever fought back. Not really. Some tried at first, but they always gave up when they saw the size of the fleet. Voran expected the same from humans. Far below, in a small city called Dajan, a woman named Hannah sat in front of her computer screens. She was an astrophysicist. She studied stars and planets. 3 weeks ago, she had seen something strange in the sky. Ships, hundreds of them. She had told her superiors, but they did not believe her. They said she was wrong. They said it was impossible. Now those ships filled the sky, and Hannah felt sick. I told them, she whispered to herself. I told them, and they did not listen. Her phone rang. It was her brother, Taiho. He was a soldier once, but now he worked as an engineer in Seoul. His voice was calm, but she could hear the fear underneath. Hannah, are you safe? I am at the observatory. I can see them. There are so many. Stay there. Do not move. I am coming to get you, the call ended. Hannah looked back at the sky. The ships were blocking the sun. In Seoul, Taiho grabbed his old military bag. He had kept it all these years. Old habits. He checked his rifle. It was a simple weapon, nothing compared to what was coming. But it was something. His neighbor, an old woman, knocked on his door.
What is happening?
She asked. Her eyes were wide with fear. I do not know, Taiho said. But stay inside. Lock your doors. He ran to his car and drove toward Dajan. The roads were chaos. People were screaming. Cars crashed into each other. Some people ran on foot, not knowing where to go. Taiho kept driving. He had to reach his sister. Above the planet, Voran watched the panic with amusement. This was always his favorite part. The fear. The confusion. Soon they would send their leaders to beg for mercy. They always did. Broadcast the message, he ordered. Across every screen on Earth, the same words appeared. They were translated into every human language. The message was simple: surrender or be annihilated. Voran waited. He expected a response within the hour. White flags, desperate pleas, maybe some crying. The humans would fall to their knees like all the others. 6 hours passed. No surrender came. Instead, something impossible happened. Commander Torak said, his voice strange. They are launching weapons. Voran turned to the display. Small objects were rising from the planet's surface. Missiles. The humans were firing missiles at his fleet. He almost laughed. Let them waste their weapons, he said. They cannot hurt us. The missiles hit the outer ships. Fire bloomed in space. The shields held, but barely. These were not normal missiles. These were nuclear weapons. The humans had used their most destructive bombs. The damage was small. A few shields weakened. Some minor fires. Nothing serious, but Voran did not laugh anymore, in all his years of conquest. No Class 7 species had ever attacked. They always surrendered. They always begged. But these humans, these primitive creatures, with their simple weapons, had chosen to fight. Within 6 hours of seeing the fleet, they had launched nuclear strikes. This is unexpected, Torak said quietly. It is nothing, Voran replied, but his voice was less certain now. They are scared. They are acting without thinking. Deploy the ground forces. We will crush them and move on. The dropships began their descent. Thousands of Keth soldiers prepared for an easy conquest. On the ground, Taiho reached the observatory. Hannah was waiting outside. She was shaking but alive. They hugged quickly. "We need to go underground," Hannah said. "I know a place." "A bunker from the old war? Lead the way." They drove through the burning streets. The dropships were landing now. Taiho could see the alien soldiers emerging. They were tall and gray, with 4 arms and no expressions on their faces. They carried weapons that glowed with strange light. Taiho stopped the car near a group of people hiding in an alley. Among them was an old man in a military uniform. General Min Ho. He had retired years ago, but he had come out when the ships arrived. He was organizing the survivors, Min Ho said, pointing at Taiho. "You were special forces." "Yes, sir." "Good. We need soldiers. Real soldiers. Not these aliens. They think we will surrender. They think we are weak." Taiho looked at the general. The old man's eyes were hard and bright. "We are not weak," Min Ho continued. "We have fought ourselves for thousands of years. We know war better than anyone. These creatures have no idea what they have started." A young man ran up to them. He was barely 18, with messy hair and scared eyes. His name was Do-Yan. He was holding a laptop. "I intercepted their communications," Do-Yan said, breathing hard. "They are confused. Their reports say we should have surrendered by now. They do not understand why we are fighting." Min Ho smiled. It was not a nice smile. Good, let them stay confused. Let them wonder. A Keth patrol appeared at the end of the street. The aliens raised their weapons. Taiho raised his rifle. It was old and simple, but his hands were steady. "They have better weapons," someone whispered. "We have something better," Taiho replied. "We have nothing left to lose." He fired the first shot. The war for Earth had begun. And somewhere, light years away, the Galactic Council received the first reports. The invasion was not going as planned. The humans were fighting back. Every single one of them, an old council member named Alith, read the reports 3 times. Then she said a word that made the room go silent. Wildcard. No one knew what to do with a wildcard. No one had ever seen one before until now. The Keth soldiers marched through the streets of Seoul with confidence. Their weapons were advanced. Their armor was strong. Their training was perfect. They expected the humans to run and hide. They expected easy victory. They were wrong. Taiho watched them from a broken window on the 3rd floor of an abandoned building. His team was small. 8 people. Some were soldiers like him. Others were ordinary people who had picked up weapons. A teacher. A shopkeeper. A college student. None of them had fought aliens before. None of them cared. "Wait," Taiho whispered. "Let them come closer." The Keth patrol walked into the narrow street. They did not look up. They did not check the buildings. Why would they? No primitive species had ever ambushed them before. Taiho gave the signal. Explosions ripped through the street. The team had spent all night making bombs from things they found in the city. Gas cans, batteries, chemicals from a cleaning store. The bombs were crude, but they worked. 3 Keth soldiers fell. The survivors raised their weapons, but they did not know where to aim. Bullets came from every window. The humans fired and moved, never staying in one place. The Keth shot back, but they hit only empty walls. Within minutes, the patrol was dead. Taiho climbed down and searched the alien bodies. He took their weapons. He took their communication devices. Everything could be useful. "We did it," the teacher said. Her name was Ji-Won. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was strong. "We actually did it. This is just the beginning," Taiho replied. "They will send more. We need to be ready." Across the world, similar scenes played out. In New York, office workers threw furniture from skyscrapers onto alien troops. In Mumbai, children led soldiers into maze-like streets where traps waited. In Cairo, elders used ancient knowledge of the desert to hide and strike. Humanity was fighting back in ways the Keth had never seen. Commander Vorin stared at the reports on his screen. His purple face was tight with anger. "This is impossible," he said. "They are Class 7. They should be begging for mercy." Torak stood beside him, quiet and worried. "Sir, our casualties are ... unexpected. We have lost more soldiers in 2 weeks than in our last 5 conquests combined. They are using tricks. Coward tactics. Effective tactics, sir. Foreign turned to his second-in-command with cold eyes. Are you defending them? No, sir. I am warning you. These creatures do not fight like any species we have faced. They do not follow logic. Soldiers who should retreat are charging forward. Civilians who should hide are attacking. Even their children resist. Our translators cannot process their communications. They use words like hope and sacrifice in ways that make no sense to us. Vorin was silent. He had conquered 30 worlds. He had never lost. But something about these humans made him uneasy. They were weak and primitive, yet they kept fighting. Why? What drove them? Far away, on the other side of the galaxy, the council chamber was full. Representatives from 100 species sat in their seats. Watching the reports from Earth, Aleph stood at the center, her silver skin glowing under the lights. You have all seen the data, she said. Humanity is not a normal species. They are Class 7, one elder argued. They have no advanced technology. They pose no threat to the galaxy. No threat? Aleph brought up a hologram. It showed Keth's casualties. The numbers were shocking. They are killing our soldiers with weapons made from metal pipes and explosive chemicals they found in their homes. They learn our patterns within days. They adapt faster than any species on record. What are you suggesting? Aleph paused. She knew her next words would cause fear. She said them anyway. I believe humanity is a wildcard, a species that does not fit our models. They are dangerous not because of what they have, but because of what they are. They will not stop. They cannot stop. Fighting is in their nature. The chamber went silent. A wildcard had not appeared in 10,000 years. The last one had nearly destroyed the council before it was contained. What should we do? An elder asked. Aleph had no answer. No one did. Back on Earth, in a destroyed hospital in Busan, a woman named Yuna was treating the wounded. She had been a nurse before the invasion. Now she was something more. She had saved dozens of lives in the past week, pulling people from burning buildings, operating without proper tools, doing the impossible because there was no other choice. The hospital had become a shelter for refugees. Hundreds of people hid inside, mostly the old and young. Yuna had promised to protect them. When the Keth soldiers came, she did not run. Everyone to the basement, she ordered. Use the back tunnels. Go now. What about you? Asked a young boy. Yuna smiled. It was tired but warm. I will be right behind you. She was lying. She knew the aliens would be too fast. Someone had to slow them down. She had found explosives in a military vehicle yesterday. She had kept them hidden, hoping she would not need them. She needed them now. The refugees escaped through the tunnels. Yuna waited. She heard the alien footsteps getting closer. Heavy, confident, they thought this would be easy. She pressed the button. The explosion shook the building. Fire and stone fell on the Keth soldiers. Yuna was thrown against a wall. Everything went dark. When she woke, she was buried under rubble. Her leg was broken. Her face was burned. But she was alive. The refugees had escaped. The aliens were dead. Yuna laughed through the pain. It hurt, but she did not care. She had one news of her sacrifice spread through the resistance networks. Doyen, the young hacker, made sure everyone heard. He had built a communication system using stolen alien technology. Now every resistance group on Earth was connected. This is the story of Yuna Doyen broadcast. She is one nurse. She stopped 20 alien soldiers. If one person can do this, imagine what all of us can do together. People listened. People remembered. And people kept fighting. On his ship, Torok read the reports about Yuna. He read about the traps, the ambushes, the humans who died with smiles on their faces because they took aliens with them. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something strange. Fear. He went to Vorin with the latest numbers. Sir, Our casualties have exceeded projections by 4,000%. Vorin did not answer. He just stared at the planet below. The blue world that should have been easy, the simple conquest that had become a nightmare. Send a message to the council, Vorin finally said. Tell them we need reinforcements. All of them. The war was just beginning, and humanity was just getting started. 2 months had passed since the invasion began. The Keth controlled most of the major cities, but they could not hold them. Every street was a battleground. Every building was a trap. Every shadow held a human with a weapon. Taiho sat in the underground bunker beneath Seoul. What was once a subway station was now the headquarters of the Korean resistance. Maps covered the walls. Stolen alien equipment filled the tables. People came and went, carrying messages, weapons, and hope. Hannah entered the room with excitement in her eyes. She had been working on something secret for weeks. Now she was ready to show them. Captured a Keth fighter 3 days ago, she said. The pilot was dead, but the ship was mostly intact. My team has been studying it, and... Taiho asked. Hannah smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen on her face since the invasion started. Their technology is old. Very old. They have been using the same designs for thousands of years. They stopped improving because they never needed to. No one ever challenged them. She pulled up images on a tablet. We already understand their basic propulsion system. Give us another month, and we will know everything. Taiho stared at the images. Alien technology. Secrets that should have taken centuries to discover. Humans had figured them out in weeks. How is this possible? He asked. Because we never stop learning, Hannah replied. We have been at war with ourselves forever. We have been forced to adapt, to improve, to survive. The Keth have been comfortable for too long. They forgot how to grow. We never had that luxury. In another corner of the bunker, Doyan was surrounded by screens. The young hacker had become one of the most important people in the resistance. His network connected fighters across the world. Americans talked to Russians. Chinese talked to Europeans. Old enemies became new allies. I have teams in every continent, Doyan reported. We share everything. Tactics, technology, information. When someone in Brazil finds a weakness, fighters in Japan know about it within hours. For the first time in history, humanity was truly united. Not by governments or treaties, but by survival. The aliens had given them something they never had before, a common enemy. General Minho organized the military operations. He was old and tired, but his mind was sharp. He had studied every war in human history. He knew patterns the Keth could never understand. They expect us to fight like them, Minho told his commanders. Straight lines. Clear targets. Honorable battle. We will not give them that. We will be smoke. We will be shadows. We will be everywhere and nowhere. The tactics worked. Keth patrols disappeared without a trace. Supply lines were destroyed. Communication towers were sabotaged. The aliens had better weapons. But they could not fight an enemy they could not see. The psychological warfare was even more effective. Humans learned what scared the Keth. Darkness, silence, symbols painted in alien blood on the walls. Strange sounds played through speakers at night. The Keth soldiers began to break. Torak interviewed a soldier who had been on patrol duty for a week. The alien was shaking. His forearms trembled. His eyes were wild. They come at night, the soldier whispered. You cannot see them. You cannot hear them. One moment your partner is beside you, the next he is gone. They leave things behind. Marks, messages. They want us to know they are watching. Always watching. They are primitives, Torak said, trying to stay calm. They cannot hurt you if you stay alert. You do not understand. The soldier grabbed Torak with desperate hands. They are not primitives. They are predators. And we are their prey. That night, the soldier refused to leave his room. He was found the next morning dead. He had stopped his own heart. The fear had killed him. Torak took this report to Vorin. The commander read it in silence. His confidence had faded over the past weeks. The easy conquest had become a war without end. Our soldiers are experiencing something new. Torak said carefully. Our species has not felt fear in generations. We have forgotten what it does to the mind. The humans have reminded us. We are Keth, Vorin replied. We do not feel fear. Then what do you call this? Torak showed him the casualty reports, the medical reports, the psychological evaluations. Our army is breaking, Commander. Not because we are losing battles, but because we are losing hope. Far away, the council watched the disaster unfold. Aleth had been right. Humanity was not a normal species. They were something else entirely. They adapt too fast, one elder said. They learned our weapons in weeks. They learned our tactics in days. They learned our fears in hours. What will they learn next? They will learn to build ships, Aleth warned. They will learn to travel between stars. And when they do, they will not forget what we did to them. They will come for us, and we must destroy them now, before it is too late. Can we? We have sent thousands of soldiers. They have killed most of them. We have superior technology. They have stolen it and used it against us. What more can we do? No one had an answer. On Earth, General Minho prepared for his final mission. A refugee camp in the countryside was surrounded by Keth forces. Thousands of people, mostly children and elderly, were trapped. The aliens planned to make an example of them. Mina gathered every soldier he could find. It was not enough. Not nearly enough. But he went anyway. I am old, he told Taiho before leaving. I have lived a full life. These children have not. Let me give them the chance I already had. The battle lasted 6 hours. Minho and his soldiers fought against impossible odds. They destroyed 3 Keth walkers. They killed hundreds of aliens. They held the line long enough for the refugees to escape through hidden tunnels. When it was over, Minho was dead. He died with a rifle in his hands and a smile on his face. He had taken more enemies with him than anyone could count. News of his sacrifice spread across the world. People who had never met him wept for him. Fighters who were ready to give up found new strength. If an old man could fight like that, so could they. Vorin received the report about the battle. He read about the old general who had charged his walkers alone. He read about the soldiers who had fought until their last breath. Why did they do this? He asked Torak. Why did they die for strangers? Torak shook his head. I do not know, Commander. Our species does not have a word for it. But the humans do? They call it sacrifice. They call it love. Vorin stared at the word on the translator. Love, such a strange concept. Such a dangerous one. He looked at the map of Earth. After months of invasion, humans controlled more territory than when he arrived. They were winning. Somehow, against all logic, they were winning. Send another message to the council, Vorin said quietly. Tell them I do not know if we can win this war. It was the first time in Keith history that a commander had admitted doubt. It would not be the last. 6 months into the war, the tide began to turn. Humanity had done the impossible. They had not just survived. They had learned. They had adapted. They had become something new. Taiho stood in the command center beneath Seoul. The room was full of people from every nation. Americans, Chinese, Russians, Europeans, Africans. Old borders meant nothing now. They were all human. That was enough. The attack begins at midnight, Taiho announced. Every continent. Every city. At the same time, Doyon had made it possible. His communication network now spanned the globe. Resistance groups on every corner of Earth were connected. They shared plans, weapons, and courage. When one group learned something, everyone knew within minutes. Hannah had done her part too. Her teams had fully decoded Keth's technology. They could fly their ships now. They could use their weapons. They had even improved some designs, making them better than the originals. The aliens had given humanity 1,000 years of advancement in 6 months. Are we ready? Asked a commander from Germany. Taiho looked at the faces around him. Tired faces. Scarred faces. But determined faces. We were ready the day they landed, he said. They just did not know it yet. At midnight, the counteroffensive began. In Seoul, Taiho led the charge through streets he had hidden in for months. Human soldiers carried alien weapons now. They moved with precision, hitting targets that Doyan had identified. Power stations, communication hubs, landing pads. Everything the Keth needed to maintain control. In New York, fighters emerged from the subway tunnels like ghosts. They struck fast and disappeared before the aliens could respond. The Statue of Liberty, which had been used as a Keth observation post, was taken back. A human flag flew from its torch by sunrise. In Moscow, in Beijing, in London, in Cairo, in 100 other cities, the same story played out. Humans attacked from every direction at once. The Keth forces, spread thin across the planet, could not respond. Their communications were jammed. Their reinforcements were ambushed. Their leaders were targeted. Commander Vorin watched his empire crumble from the bridge of his flagship. "This is impossible," he said, his voice hollow. "They were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to break." "They are not breaking," Torak replied quietly. "We are." Reports flooded in from every continent. Defeats, retreats, surrenders. Keth soldiers were throwing down their weapons rather than face the humans again. The fear that had started as a whisper was now a scream. "Commander," an officer said, his voice shaking. "Human ships are approaching our position." Vorin froze. "Human ships. That is impossible. They do not have ships. They do now, sir. They built them from our captured vessels. They are. They are heading directly for the fleet." The first human-piloted spacecraft rose from Earth's surface. They were ugly things, patchwork machines built from crashed alien fighters and human engineering. But they worked, they flew, and they were armed. Hannah stood on the bridge of the lead ship. She was not a soldier, but she had designed this vessel. She had earned the right to be here. "Okay, all ships follow my lead," she broadcast. "Target their command vessels first. Cut off the head, and the body will fall." The battle in orbit was brutal. Human pilots had never fought in space before, but they learned fast. They used tactics that Keth had never seen. They flew through asteroid fields and used the debris as cover. They rammed enemy ships when their weapons ran out. They died by the hundreds, but they kept coming. On the flagship, alarms screamed as human ships breached the hull. Taiho led the boarding party. He had trained in zero gravity for 2 weeks. It was not enough, but it would have to do. They fought through corridors that were designed for aliens. The ceilings were too high. The gravity was wrong. But humans adapted. They always adapted. Vorin heard them coming. He stood on his bridge, surrounded by his last guards. He had conquered 30 worlds. He had never lost. Until now, the door exploded inward. Taiho walked through the smoke, his stolen alien rifle raised. The guards fired, but the humans were faster. Within seconds, only Vorin remained. "It is over." Vorin stared at the human. This small, fragile creature. This insect that had somehow brought the mighty Keth to their knees. "You are nothing," Vorin snarled. "You are primitives. You are animals. Animals fight to survive," Taiho replied calmly. "We fight for something more. Surrender, and your life will be spared. Your people will be treated fairly. This is not revenge. This is victory. I would rather die than submit to your kind. That is your choice. But your soldiers do not have to die with you." Vorin hesitated. On every screen, he could see his fleet burning. His soldiers surrendering. His empire falling apart. The humans were offering mercy. Something the Keth had never offered their victims. Why? Why would they spare their enemy? Torak stepped forward. He had stayed hidden during the battle, watching, waiting. Now, he made his choice. "Commander," he said, "it is over. We lost. But we do not have to lose everything." Vorin looked at his second-in-command. The alien who had served him for decades. There was no loyalty in Torak's eyes anymore. Only truth. Slowly, Vorin lowered his weapon. "I surrender." The news spread across Earth within hours. The Keth commander had been captured. The fleet was retreating. Humanity had won. But Taiho did not celebrate. He found Yuna in a field hospital, helping the wounded. Her face was scarred from the explosion months ago. Her legs still did not work right, but she was alive. "We won," he told her. Yuna looked up from a patient. She smiled, but it was tired. "Did we?" "Look around, Taiho. Look at what we lost." He did look. At the ruined cities, at the mass graves, at the millions of faces that would never smile again. Victory had a cost, a terrible cost. "We survived," Taiho said. "That is enough for now." In the council chambers, light years away, the elders watched the impossible unfold. The Keth Empire, their greatest military force, had been defeated by primitives, by insects, by a Class 7 species that should have been nothing more than slaves. Aleph stood before them, her silver face grim. "I warned you," she said. "Humanity is not prey. They never were. They are something new, something we have never seen before. And now they have our technology. They have our ships. They have the knowledge to reach the stars. What do we do?" An elder asked. Aleph looked at the blue dot on the star map. "Earth. Such a small world. Such dangerous creatures. We hope they forgive us," she said. "Because if they do not, I do not think we can stop them." 5 years had passed since the invasion ended. Earth was different now. The old nations still existed, but they worked together in ways no one had imagined before. The war had burned away the petty differences. What remained was a species that knew its strength. Cities rose from the ashes. New cities. Better cities. Built with a combination of human creativity and alien technology. Towers reached toward the sky. Ships launched every week. Academies trained the next generation of scientists, soldiers, and explorers. Humanity was no longer trapped on one small planet. They were becoming something more. Taiho stood at the window of the new United Earth. Headquarters in Seoul, he had not wanted this job. He had not asked to become a leader, but the people had chosen him, and he would not refuse. The view showed a city reborn. Children played in parks. Families walked on clean streets. Life continued, as it always did. A knock at the door broke his thoughts. It was Torak. The alien looked different now. He had stayed on Earth after the war, choosing to help rebuild rather than return to his broken empire. Many humans hated him at first. He was the enemy. He had helped kill their families. But time changed things. People saw that he was different. He wanted to understand. He wanted to make things right. "The Council has sent another message," Torak said. "They want to speak with your leaders." "What do they want?" "The same thing they have wanted for 5 years. A promise that humanity will not seek revenge." Taiho almost laughed. "We have spent 5 years rebuilding our world. We have buried millions of our people. We have raised orphans and healed wounds that will never fully close. And they are worried about us?" "Yes," Torak said simply. "They are terrified." It was strange. The great Galactic Council, rulers of 1,000 worlds, afraid of one small planet. But Taiho understood why. Humanity had done the impossible. They had defeated an empire with nothing but determination and rage. What would they do now that they had real power? "Tell them I will speak," Taiho said. "But not as a servant. As an equal." Council chamber was silent when the human broadcast began. Representatives from 100 species watched the screen. They had seen humans before, in recordings of the war. Small creatures with soft skin and strange eyes. But this human was different. He stood tall. His voice was calm. His eyes showed no fear. "My name is Taiho," the human said. "I speak for Earth. What do you want?" An elder asked. His voice was careful, hiding the fear underneath. "I want you to understand something." Taiho paused, letting the silence stretch. "You came to our world. You killed our people. You tried to take everything from us. And we stopped you. Not with advanced weapons. Not with great armies. But with something you will never understand. What is that? Hope. We fight because we hope for something better. We sacrifice because we believe tomorrow can be brighter than today. We never give up because giving up means betraying everyone who came before us. You do not have this. That is why you lost. The council members shifted uncomfortably. The truth hurt. We are not asking for war, Taiho continued. We are not demanding revenge. We want only one thing. Leave us alone. Let us grow. Let us explore the stars in peace, and maybe someday we can be allies instead of enemies. Aleth spoke next. Her silver face was thoughtful. How do we know you will keep this promise? How do we know you will not come for us once you are strong enough? Taiho smiled. It was not a threatening smile. It was sad and tired and honest. You do not know. That is the risk you take. But consider this. We could have killed Commander Vorin. We did not. We could have executed every Keth soldier we captured. We did not. We showed mercy when you showed us none. That is who we are. We are dangerous, yes, but we are not cruel. We only become cruel when someone threatens what we love. The elder who had asked the first question leaned forward. And if we threaten you again? Taiho's smile faded. His eyes became hard. Then you will discover why we are called a wildcard. Because we will do whatever it takes to protect our people. Whatever it takes. There is no line we will not cross. No sacrifice we will not make. No enemy we will not destroy. You came to our world thinking we were sheep. You learned we were wolves? Do not make us show you what we become when we are truly angry. The broadcast ended. The council chamber remained silent for a long time. Finally, one of the elders spoke. We need to reclassify their planet to what? Aleth asked. The elder brought up Earth on the star map. Such a small world. Such an ordinary sun. But the data next to it told a different story. Population, recovering. Technology, rapidly advancing. Threat level, unknown. Clasido, the elder said. Existential anomaly. Do not engage under any circumstances. It was the highest threat classification the council had. It had only been used once before in all of galactic history. And now it belonged to the primitives who should have been nothing more than resources. On Earth, life continued. Doyan led the New Technology Institute, training young minds to push the boundaries of science. Hannah became an admiral, commanding the first true human fleet. Yuna ran the Memorial Hospital, healing bodies and spirits. They had all lost so much in the war. They had all become so much more. 10 years after the invasion, humanity launched its first expedition beyond their solar system. The ship was called Hope. It was crewed by volunteers from every nation. They carried no weapons, only curiosity and courage. Hannah stood on the bridge as the ship prepared to jump to faster than light speed. Behind her was a crew of the best humanity had to offer. Ahead was a universe that finally knew their name. A young crew member approached her. He was barely 20, born during the war. He had grown up hearing stories of the invasion of the heroes who had saved their world. Admiral, he said, what if they attack us again? What if the council decides we are too dangerous to live? Hannah looked out at the stars. So many of them. So many possibilities. So many dangers. Then we remind them why they stopped, she said. We are human. We do not run. We do not hide. We do not give up. We adapt. We fight. We survive. That is what we do. That is what we have always done. The jump drive activated. Stars stretched into lines of light. The ship leaped forward into the unknown. Behind them, Earth continued to grow. A planet of survivors. A world of wildcards. A species that had looked into the face of extinction and had refused to blink. The galaxy had tried to break them. Instead, it had made them stronger. And somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, other species heard the stories. Enslaved worlds whispered about the planet that had fought back. Oppressed peoples dreamed of freedom. The wildcard had become a symbol. Hope spread like fire across the stars. Humanity had not just survived, they had become something more. Something the universe had never seen. Something that would never be forgotten. They were human, and they were just getting started.